Thank you so much for these, just the warmest words imaginable. And I want to introduce, because I'm interested in hearing his take, this is Colin Cosell, the grandson of Howard Cosell. Now, Colin Cosell, the grandson of Howard Cosell, he does a killer impression of his grandfather. In 1985, interestingly, my first shot at the big time in the World Series was replacing Howard Cosell. In 1985, the World Series, St. Louis Cardinals against the Kansas City Royals. And I was wondering if Colin would tell us how his grandfather would be introducing me tonight after I had replaced him in 1985. And this is Colin's response.
A tragedy, a travesty, the embodiment of jockocracy. Never should there ever be an honor bestowed upon a more dishonorable man. A man who enters a class that, I remind you, I was an inaugural member 10 years ago tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the dishonorable Tim McCarver.
That's Colin Cosell.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, it's killer. Oh, I was waiting to hear that. That was unrehearsed, by the way. Thank you once again for all of those nice things that everyone said. I did not grow up in a world of privilege. My father was a policeman, a police officer. And so a world of privilege was just not in form in Memphis, Tennessee. He had to raise 5 children with a police officer's salary. But you know what? That made me appreciate the word privilege, because the privilege of playing in 3 World Series, the privilege of working with the men with whom I worked, from Dick Enberg to Don Drysdale, to a guy who may be the greatest announcer, all in all, in the history of our business, Al Michaels, from 1985 to 1989. Jim Palmer, Jack Buck, Sean McDonough, and for the last 18 years of my career, Joe Buck. Interesting thing, in 1991, my 4 favorite World Series of the 24 that I did were the 1985 Earthquake Series in San Francisco, the A's and the Giants. Kurt Gowdy Jr. was our producer. And then in 1991, in Game 6, in the 10th inning, on a 3-0 count off Charlie Lee Brandt, Kirby Puckett hit a home run in left field, and Jack Buck said, "We'll see you tomorrow night." A legendary call. I was sitting to his right. 20 years later, in 2011, again, a legendary World Series, and Joe Buck, Jack Buck's son, was sitting to my left, and David Freese hit a home run to center field. And Joe Buck, you guessed it, said, "We'll see you tomorrow night." Those 3, I skipped one intentionally. In 2001, the scintillating Game 7 win, or the 7-game win, by the Arizona Diamondbacks over the New York Yankees. And I defy anybody in this room, who is a baseball fan or not, to say that they have ever seen 2 better baseball games back-to-back. Joe Torre was the manager of the Yankees then, of course. Games 4 and 5 played in the old stadium, with the country reeling from events of 9/11, with just emotional, all the pores of the people there reeking with emotion. The Yankees down by 2 runs with 2 outs. Hit 2 home runs. One in Game 4 by Tino Martinez to tie it. A 2-run home run in Game 5 by Scott Brocious to tie it. And the ghost of Yankee Stadium won out. And the Yankees won both games. And Derek Jeter became Mr. November. Almost said October. These are privileges about which I talk. You know, back in the middle 80s, Joe Raposo, you may remember the name, he was a prolific songwriter. He wrote the theme from Sesame Street. It's not that easy being green. There used to be a ballpark. Sinatra songs, all. And another song that has haunted a lot of athletes since they heard it, Here's to the Winners. That song has always been poignant to me. And this room tonight goes with the words to that song, because there are only winners here tonight, and I'm certainly glad I'm one of them. Thank you.